All right, ready to jump back into Silver Nine.
Always ready.
Today, we're getting into the heads of the characters who make this world so compelling, the antagonists.
The villains.
Exactly. You guys have sent us so much great material on these characters. So we're doing a deep dive on their psychology, like what makes them pick.
What makes them do the things they do?
Yeah, what are their motivations, their inner struggles?
Yeah.
You know, how did their past shape their villainous ways? We're going to try to understand these villains we love to hate.
It's always fascinating to consider.
Oh, I know, right? It really adds another layer, don't you think?
Definitely. It's like getting a backstage pass to their thought processes.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Exactly.
That's not just, like, they're evil just to be evil, right?
Right.
So let's just jump right into it with King Arito. I mean, here's a guy who took the throne from his own brother.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about family drama, right?
Yeah.
And you pointed out that, like, his inferiority complex is a big part of this. But it seems like there's even more to it than that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. He's really driven by this need for validation, especially from, someone like Navi, who represents, power and legacy in Silver Nine.
Yeah, yeah.
And it really influences his choices. It's like he's overcompensating for his own insecurities by being this, like, iron-fisted ruler.
Oh, interesting.
To prove himself to everyone.
So the more power he gets,
yeah,
the more he needs validation.
Exactly. It's such a fascinating paradox.
Huh. So it's more than just some sibling rivalry. This is deep.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have someone like Sandalphon Farrow.
Oh, yeah, with the Gold Marauders.
Leading the Gold Marauders.
I mean, he's just, like, out for himself.
Totally.
Throws out the whole moral compass.
Yeah. It's like he doesn't even believe in right and wrong.
Just survival of the fittest.
Exactly.
So does that nihilistic worldview, does that make him a more interesting villain, in the world of Silver Nine with the Code of Honor and all that?
That's a great question. It really makes you question if that Code of Honor is even possible in that kind of world,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that fear that maybe when things get bad enough, everyone's just out for themselves.
For sure. He really embodies that fear.
But then you have Queen Demi, who also wants power, but for totally different reasons.
Totally different. Yeah. She wants what she's lost.
Right.
And she wants recognition.
Recognition, yeah. Like she's invisible and she wants to be seen? Is that what drives her?
Totally. She wants to change her story. She's out to prove herself.
Oh, wow.
Right.
It's almost like you feel bad for her.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't agree with her actions.
Of course not.
But you get it.
You understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about someone who's, well, a little less concerned with recognition and a lot more into just manipulating everyone. Linebale.
Linebale.
The Soul Collector.
The Soul Collector. Yeah. What makes her so interesting and also kind of terrifying is how much she believes in her own ideology.
It's scary how sure she is that she's right.
Exactly right. She's like, I'm going to unite Monohawks and the tribes, even if it means sacrificing people to do it.
And that's what's so messed up. She thinks she's the good guy.
Exactly. She really blurs the line.
She's not in it for the power
No.
or the money. It's just...
She thinks it's for the greater good.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like the ends justify the means.
Which, like, never a good look.
Never a good look.
So, speaking of different points of view, you included a lot of information about the tribes. And, from Monohawks' side, they're the bad guys.
Sure.
But is that really the whole story?
That's what's so cool about Silver Nine. It makes you think. And the tribes, they're a perfect example of that. You got to think about what they've been through.
They've been through so much.
Generations of fighting, oppression by Monohawks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're aggressive. But are they really evil? Or are they just trying to survive?
Right.
Protect what they have.
It's about understanding, like, the long history, the trauma.
Collective trauma.
Yeah, and how that changes how you see the world.
Exactly. Makes you realize history isn't black and white.
No, not at all.
And what one side thinks is bad, the other side thinks is just survival.
It's all about perspective.
Totally.
There are always two sides to every story.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, what about Decker Raven? He's all about, like, physical power.
Yeah, Klanjinsky's champion.
Yes. Yeah. He's like a force of nature.
But you were saying there's more to him.
I think so, yeah. He's strong.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like that strength is all he has.
Interesting.
So it makes you wonder, is he really that confident?
You think his strength might come from, like, insecurity?
Maybe.
Like he has something to prove?
It's possible. What happens when he can't win with just his strength?
Wow.
What happens when someone outsmarts him?
That's a good question. It's like his strength is his shield,
Right.
but it's also like trapping him.
Interesting. Right.
Yeah. And then there's Lord Elion, who's all about power.
Oh, yeah. Totally different.
He's playing the long game.
He's playing to win.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's ruthless about it.
Totally. And you know what else is interesting about him? You pointed out that he's,
Paranoid.
yeah, like everyone's out to get him, so he can't trust anyone.
Nope.
It's like he creates his own enemies, you know?
It's true. He pushes away anyone who might actually be loyal.
Because he thinks they're going to betray him.
Exactly. And then he surrounds himself with, like, yes men.
Ooh, bad idea.
The worst.
Which just makes him more paranoid, right?
Totally. It's a vicious cycle.
It's kind of sad, actually.
It is. He's so scared of losing power that he can't even see what he's doing to himself.
So messed up. Okay, well, speaking of fear, let's talk about the undead Shadow King Golo.
Oh, go.
I mean, talk about a villain who embodies our deepest fears, right?
Oh.
It's not even about power with him, really, is it?
No, it's deeper than that.
It's about losing control.
Yes, becoming a puppet.
Like, what could be scarier than that?
Right.
To have your body and your mind taken over by something else. Total nightmare fuel. And it makes you think, like, what does it even mean to be human if you don't have control over your own self?
Exactly. It's a question a lot of stories grapple with.
Right. Free will versus, like, destiny, fate, all that.
Totally. It's
All
like
right.
even in death, you might not be free.
Ugh, so creepy. Okay, well, let's switch gears to another character whose story is full of tragedy. Iskari. He goes from this respected mentor, all about duty and honor,
Right.
to betraying everyone.
It's rough.
What happened there? It doesn't seem like he wants power, like Arito or Elion.
No, not at
It's like he's got this strict moral code,
He does.
but it gets, like, twisted.
Yeah, corrupted somehow.
Right. And that's what brings him down.
You got it.
So it's his own sense of what's right and wrong that destroys him.
Basically, he's so focused on that, he misses everything else going on around him.
And that makes him easy to manipulate.
Totally vulnerable.
Wow. It makes you wonder, though, like, does he know?
Know what?
Deep down, does he know that he's being played?
Interesting question.
And is that part of what makes him turn bitter? You know?
Maybe he feels like a fool. Yeah, that could be it.
Such a classic tragic flaw.
It is. You think you're doing the right thing, but you end up hurting everyone.
It's a good reminder to, like, question yourself sometimes.
For sure, and be open to different perspectives.
Totally. So let's go back to the tribes for a second. We talked about their history with monohawks, but it's more complicated than that, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, way more.
It's not like they're all the same.
Right. It's tempting to see them as this one big group.
Yeah, all against monohawks.
But they're not. Not really.
They have their own thing going on.
Totally. You know, different clans, different beliefs, different goals.
Right, right.
So, yeah, they don't like monohawks. But that doesn't mean they all agree on what should happen next.
Ooh, internal conflict.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it's not just tribes versus monohawks.
No.
It's like tribes versus tribes, too.
Exactly. They're fighting each other for power and influence just as much as they're fighting monohawks.
That is so interesting.
It's classic, isn't it?
Totally. Like, join forces to defeat the common enemy, and then...
Then it's everyone for themselves.
Yeah.
Human nature at its finest.
Right. Even in Silver 9, it's always there.
Always.
It's wild how Silver 9 makes you question everything you think you know about good and bad.
Totally. Like, you start to see that maybe the villains aren't so different from the heroes after all.
Yeah, they have reasons for what they do.
Right, and sometimes those reasons even make sense. Like, you can almost sympathize with them.
Totally. Like, remember Decker? Klaninsky's champ?
Oh, yeah. All muscles. All the time.
But you said it yourself, there's, like, a vulnerability there.
For sure, underneath all that bravado.
It's like his whole identity is built on being the strongest.
What happens if someone beats him with brains instead of brawn?
Right. Like, outsmarts him. What does that do to a guy like that?
That's the question, isn't it?
It's like in those stories, you know, where the giant gets taken down by the little guy.
I know exactly what you mean.
Makes you think maybe that's what Decker's really afraid of deep down.
Losing without even really fighting.
Yeah, yeah. Like, that's more embarrassing than any real loss.
Makes you wonder if that's why he's always got to prove himself.
Constantly battling, yeah.
Like he's trying to shut those doubts up.
Makes you realize everyone's got their demons.
For sure, even the big, scary villains.
Speaking of which, Lord Elion. No, he's got the brains.
Oh yeah, Elion's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
Right. But like you said, that ambition could be his downfall.
It could be.
It's
Yeah.
like he's so focused on getting to the top, he doesn't see what he's sacrificing.
Doesn't realize what really matters.
Exactly. He pushes everyone away, doesn't trust anyone,
Thinks everyone's trying to use him,
so he ends up alone.
which is exactly what he's afraid of in the first place.
That's so sad.
Tragic, really.
It's a good reminder, though, you know?
Yeah.
Like, don't let your ambition make you lose sight of what's important.
Couldn't agree more. Real strength comes from connection, from building something real.
Well said. So we've talked about individual villains, but what about the tribes? They've got a whole history with monomachs.
Generations of it.
And you talked about their collective trauma. But how does that play out when they're not one big group?
See, that's where it gets even more fascinating. It's easy to lump them all together.
Right, like they're all just fighting against monohawks.
But each clan, they've got their own stories, their own beliefs, their own reasons for fighting.
So they might have a common enemy,
Yep.
but they don't all want the same thing.
Exactly. It's like, who gets to decide what happens after they win? Who gets to be in charge?
Ooh, yeah, that's going to cause some problems.
Oh, absolutely. The infighting, the power struggles, it's all there, just simmering beneath the surface.
It adds a whole other layer to everything.
For sure reminds you that even with magic and monsters, it's still human nature driving the story.
So true. Well, I think we've explored the depths of these villains pretty thoroughly.
We've covered a lot of ground.
It's been so interesting to really unpack their motivations, their backstories.
It really makes you appreciate the story on a whole new level.
Totally. So, listeners, as you dive back into Silver 9, keep this stuff in mind.
Pay attention to those little details.
You never know what secrets you might uncover. Until next time, keep exploring and keep asking